After this, God told Moses he wasn't going to go with them to the promised land. He would send an angel with them to take the land. He was afraid that he would kill them along the way. But Moses told the people what God had said, and they repented. They were sorry for their sins, and they took off their jewelry and mourned. Then Moses set up the tabernacle outside the camp, and they went there to pray. When Moses went to the tabernacle, they stood at the door of the tent and watched him until he went into the tabernacle. As they watched, they saw the cloudy pillar descend to the door of the tabernacle and talk with Moses. When Moses spoke with God, it was as if he was talking to his friend. And when the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door, they rose up and worshiped God, all of them, in the doorways of their tents. And Moses left the tabernacle to tell the people what God had just told him. But Joshua remained in the tabernacle, perhaps as a sign of respect to God, or in case God said something and Joshua would be there to hear it. And Moses told the people, God is still with us. Moses had told God, we cannot go without you. Moses wanted God with him and the people always, and God said he would stay with them. In addition, Moses asked God to let him see him. Up to now, God had spoken to Moses through a burning bush and in clouds, but Moses wanted to see God. God told Moses, no man can see me and live. So, face to face was out. But he told Moses to stand by him on the rock, and when he passed by, he put Moses in the crack in the rock, covered Moses with his hand, and allowed him to see him from the back, but not his face. And God told Moses to hew 2 tables like the ones that Moses had just broke, and come up to God on Mount Sinai the next day, alone, which Moses did. Then God descended in the cloud, stood with him all the time, proclaiming his mercy and goodness. And Moses bowed his head toward the earth, worshiped God, and prayed. And God spoke with Moses. He reaffirmed his commitment to Moses and the people, and repeated the law to Moses. God told Moses to write it all down. Isn't it interesting that when we study the history of the world, we see that the Egyptians had developed written language just a short time before this, that God put Moses in an Egyptian palace where he learned it, and God told Moses to write what he told him. Moses did this, and we can still read what God told him. It's the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, which contain all of the history of God's creation from Adam to Eve and up to Moses, and the laws that God gave his people. And God has promised us that he will bless us and protect us if we will obey him. Moses was there with God 40 days and 40 nights. In that time he fasted and did not eat bread or drink water. And he wrote the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments, on the tablets. And when he came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tables of testimony in his hand, his face shone, and he didn't even know. He had gotten that from being with God. When Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses and his shiny face, they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called unto them, and they came to him, and he gave them the word from God. After that, Moses put a veil on his face. Moses wore the veil when he was around the people, but took it off when he went before God to speak with him.